Welcome to the Football Pyramid Talk podcast. Available to listen to on YouTube and Spotify. George, Simon and Sterling as your hosts. 7 different leagues. Enjoy the episode. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Football Pyramid Talk podcast. Episode 25 today, and we're back with the usual crew, Simon and Sterling.
All right.
And today we'll be covering all 7 leagues again as usual. So happy to be doing that. And there's been some cracking games that we've went to. Not so yesterday, which we'll speak about briefly in a second, but on the Saturday, which you can keep listening to hear what we've got to say about a game which we went to on the weekend. But we'll start off with the Premier League. Not the most entertaining of Premier League weekends, was it? Not many high-scoring games, but I think one of the main talking points was Michael Carrick's Man United. I mean, what a performance it was to beat Manchester City and sort of just dominate them, really. City didn't look to create anything, so what do you think of the performance and, like, how, Carrick got his side to set up?
Yeah, could have been about 7-0 in the end, really. They absolutely destroyed City. Made it really hard for them. 4 back instead of a 5 back is the way he chose to set up, seemed to work really well. Looking at the analysis on Match of the Day, and they really just blocked the lines where City want to play in between midfield and defence, and really stopped the players like Cherky, Foden, picking up the ball in those areas where they could really hurt them, and that seemed to do the trick, because then every time they went for it, United were blocking it, intercepting it, and then on the attack really quick, and that seemed to be a real benefit for them, and seems to be a way they could go down and have quite a lot of success, because they're very dangerous on the counter attack, and that showed with the 3rd goal that got disallowed, and maybe it was the 3rd goal I think that got disallowed, but you see it loads of times in that game. Just on the counter they were killing City.
Yeah, I thought we breathed a breath of fresh air into Old Trafford in general, actually. The crowd was really up for it, and I think he really picked 2 players that didn't deserve to be out in the cold under Amarin, and bringing Maguire back in along Martinez in defence and Kobe Manu. I mean, I couldn't understand when I was reading the paper or reading online when I was briefly touching in with the football in Australia that Manu was being touted as a loan prospect in January by United. It just seemed absolute madness that they were going down that route. I thought they were both outstanding, and the fact that he changed the formation and allowed Fernandes to play as a 10 and pick up those spaces between lines, which he does really well. City, just baffle me. Guardiola, such a huge ego. That high line that they played wasn't working. I mean, they scored 2 goals that were disallowed for fractional offsides, I think, didn't they, United?
Yeah.
And then half-time he makes a couple of changes which didn't work either. He might have been best bet leaving as was, I think, and maybe changing the way he was approaching the game. Haaland looks off it. He definitely doesn't relish the physical challenge that he gets, and we saw that with Van Heck when Brighton played up there. He might look like he's enjoying it, but I don't think he does. And it'd be an interesting
I
one.
disagree with that.
No, really?
Yeah, I think he loves it, but it's just not what he's used to, and we're not used to seeing that.
But I don't think he doesn't win the battles. That's the point I was trying to make. I think is he's not winning he's not winning those physical battles and scoring a brace, is he? He's losing the battles. He might enjoy it, but he's been neutered by people like that, and I think that's exactly what Martinez was doing to him on Saturday as well. I think he really didn't enjoy that at all.
I definitely see your point. It frustrates him. I think he loves it, but I think it frustrates him because he's not used to it. He's used to bullying defenders and having his own way. So when it goes the opposite way, it's almost like, well, what's going on? This is this is the unknown for me. That's what he's
Yeah.
thinking, it seems, and then it riles him up. But definitely make a good point about Bruno Fernandes. Having him, that stood out to me. Having him a bit further forward just made complete sense. I never really liked him in that deeper role for United. I mean, I
No.
don't give a shit. I'm not a United fan, but from a neutral point of view, you could tell he's not. That's not his preferred position, and you got to have him in those areas more where they had him against City.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that because Fernandes has such good quality in the 10 role and gets so many goal involvements when he plays there. And when Amarin was playing him in that deeper position, it was just really confusing to football fans in general that he was playing that deep in the Man United starting 11. But Thierry Henry did some really good analysis on how he sort of made the first goal happen for Mbeumo because he just made yards happen for him. So then when he got the ball, Mbeumo had a lot more time than he could have done if he didn't play at a Pacific time. Went from like 3 yards from when he had it, and then Bruno did some skill or like just some body feint, made Kuzanov move a bit to the left, and it literally doubled the amount of yards which Mbeumo had. Made it 6 yards, and it was enough to, I think he had it at the end. 3 yards, had enough space to shoot, and then really good finish as well by Mbeumo. So I think that in general is just one example of what he brings to United in that position. I thought Mainu, completely agree with you both. Brilliant. Fuck knows why he wasn't even starting with Amarin. I mean, that manager was confusing in itself. But now you're seeing how Mainu's performing since he's got back. You just think, what was he thinking? I thought Maguire and Martinez, like you both said, really, really good. I thought Maguire especially looks a colossal, really. They were saying it on the radio up to the Worthing game, weren't they? How good of a performance he was having. But I think the key stat for me was how United only had 32 possession, but then nearly had two more XG than Man City did. Just shows how much United prevented City from doing anything in the game, which I think is a real cause for concern for Man City because at this minute of recording, they're 2-0 down to Bodo Glimt, so not going very
Yeah,
well there at the minute in time.
they were
But
doing
yeah,
that. They were doing that typical Guardiola, pass it around the box, round the edge of the box, work it side to side, and then they get it to, obviously with that they're trying to create the space and the gaps that they can exploit, pick the
yeah,
passes. But United were so deep and compact, sitting in a low block, and they couldn't get any space. When they would then go out to the wingers, Semenyo or Doku, they'd just double up on them. Ahmad would come across, Dorgu would come across, so
yeah,
they had no real effective way to break United down. So, well, I mean, it's what you do without the ball, isn't it? Sorry, it's what you do when you have the ball. It doesn't matter how much of the ball you really have. United showed that 30% possession. You said or 20, can't remember, but not a lot at all, and they've won 2-0 and it could have been more. So I think one thing we have to speak about is Dallo, though, because he should have been sent off for me, without a doubt. I don't know what you guys
yeah,
think.
hundred
It was.
percent.
I mean, I keep getting fed up with saying the same old thing about this, but you take one look at that and you can see immediately it's a red card. It's not a glancing blow; it's a straight red card. And how the referee misses it on the pitch is beyond me. But when you take one look at it, you don't need to slow the replays down or do a freeze frame and step by step. You can just see that it's a straight red card. And it was a weekend where VAR was a disgrace all weekend, and we'll talk about the Brighton game in a minute, where it just cemented its reputation. Now, there's that stat that I was telling you both about on the BBC, where the 13 mistakes that VAR's made so far this season, we're just
Yeah,
over halfway through the season. So I think we can add at least two more onto it this weekend, and it just beggars belief that it's still being used. It really does.
I
yeah.
think it's just the way it's being used for me. Sorry, George, go on.
No, I was just going to say how, a challenge that's been put in that high is not being put as a red card. It was it was literally above his knee, wasn't it? It was near his, it was on his quad, and it's just like
Yeah.
studs up onto his quad. How is that not clear and obvious? Like, I thought that was just like common sense that you send him off that. You got VAR for a reason. Surely you make the decision to send him off there, in my opinion. But don't know what
I
you
would
think,
thought so.
Sterling. But I thought that was a stonewaller.
Yeah, I think what they said about it was that there wasn't sufficient contact, and looking at it, justified. There's not. He's not.
Yeah, it's not with
Planted his
excessive
foot.
force. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he's
yeah,
not planted his foot on his knee, but he has grazed his knee, more than grazed it with
yeah,
his studs.
yeah.
And yeah, Doku, wasn't it? He's made a meal out of it, but at the end of the day, he's late, it's dangerous, studs showing. Everything that we know to be a red card is that.
Hmm.
I think it's a red card regardless, to be honest, but
But on the
the thing that
radio,
annoys me the most
go on.
The thing that annoys me the most is just the inconsistency with everything in VAR. I think it probably leads us nicely to the Brighton game as well.
Yeah, just before we go on to that, I just wanted to say that on the radio, they were saying, Talk Sport this was, they were saying that maybe the referee didn't want to send Dallo off because of the stage of the game it was, and it would have ruined the game. And I thought, what, it might well have done, but what relevance has that got to it?
Yeah, it's just absolute bollocks. Like what? That's just like just showing clear and obvious, just like inconsistency that you're not going to send someone off in a big game, and then when it's like Burnley versus Fulham, for example, you send him straight off. It's just
Yeah.
like you
Not
got
got
to do it.
stones.
Yeah, you got to do it for every single game. So yeah, I mean, we'll move on to another game of controversy. Brighton versus Bournemouth, and I was saying to you both last night, this is without a doubt for me the worst officiated Brighton game I've ever seen in my life, and I've been going since I was 6 years old. So it just says quite a lot, doesn't it? I mean, decision after decision, foul after foul, and injury after injury going down and down. I felt like the game was actually in play for about 5 minutes in the second half. I'll let you two rant on about it, but I thought it was an embarrassment to Premier League football in general, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I can't help but agree with you. I think, I mean, I'm quite unusual, I think, because one of the first things I look at is who's refereeing the game. And I think the
Mm.
standard of officiating is poor. But when I saw it was that guy, Paul Tierney, my heart sank because he's right up there with Simon Hooper as one of the worst officials. And to be honest with you, when that Aldi burst forward onto that punt upfield and he booked him for diving, the first thing I did was to the old fella next to me as I turned around to him and said, he usually gets everything wrong, this guy, so it's going to be a penalty. And that was before there was a hint that he was going to look at it. And then, of course, he's standing there saying, "Oh." But the thing that baffles me, it really does, is why do we have the pantomime of him going over, looking at the screen, then coming on, telling us all what's happened? Because that burns another 2 minutes. He's never going to change his mind. None of them have ever changed their mind. I can count on the fingers of one hand. I think twice. I've seen
I've
the
seen it
referee.
once.
Yeah, the referee's gone over and said no. But anybody that knows anything about football would have looked at that and said, okay, he's touched him, but the level for, they said at the beginning of the season, the level for a foul, the level of contact for a foul is going up. We don't want there to be these glancing blows with people falling over when it patently isn't going to make you fall over to cause that to happen. And I saw that on Sky, Thierry Henry was saying it was a penalty because Verbruggen's leg was up and it caught him on the shin. Sorry, no, I don't care. That was never a penalty. In 100 years of football, that has never been a penalty.
Yeah, I've done about all my ranting, I think. I'm not going to get too irate about it because it just ruined my evening. But as it did yesterday. But yeah, I echo everything that you guys are saying and more. another thing with that whole pantomime is of him actually reading it out or speaking to the crowd. Well, by the time that I had actually heard it over the tannoy in the ground, he was halfway through what he was already saying. And as you say, we know what he's going to say anyway. They never change it, so it was pointless. Yeah, there's force. No, there's contact, but there's not excessive force. Again, completely agree. Um, and I don't think it's enough to overturn it at all. This whole clear and obvious. It's more just saying make it up as they go along. To be honest, that's what I think, because there's no way that they have said that that is clear and obvious to Paul Tierney. You've made a mistake. He was so sure on it, he booked the bloke. And I know we all sit behind the goal, so we all had a really good view of that. But
Yeah.
yours view, I imagine, because I know where you sit, would have been a little bit skewed from where Verbruggen was.
Yeah.
But we and myself, I was side onto it. So actually, where he kicked the ball in the end was like coming towards me. And in normal time, you can see it on the replays as well, but it's so obvious. He's just falling over already.
Yeah.
Mm.
Another thing, Verbruggen's not even dived towards him. He's dived to intercept the ball. And the blokes ran into him. It's just really poor refereeing. And the last thing I'll say about that is they're just. Oh no, I'm not even going to get onto it because it slipped my mind. There's too much. It's rubbish. That's it. Because the last thing slipped my mind, and I can't be asked to keep going on about it. It was good in the end, though, wasn't it? Because that is one of the best goals that I've seen in my life with my own eyes. 100% one of the best goals that I've seen at the Amex. I think
Yeah.
maybe even the best is up for discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely up for discussion.
I think Hertzler lost patience with Welbeck. I was watching the subs warm up, and Welbeck went for a ball inside the penalty box, and he missed out on it. And I just looked over it. As soon as he missed it, I looked over, and Hertzler himself had whistled down to Kostulis and said, "You're coming on." And the guy sprinted up. And to be fair to him, he was superb. I mean, Welbeck's difficult to drop at the moment because of his because he's such a great goal scorer. But I think he may have kept him on a little bit longer than he should have done last night. But Bournemouth were a disgrace. If Brighton had played like that, I would have been embarrassed, and I would have hoped some of those Bournemouth supporters went home and reflected on how embarrassing it was, because
Yeah.
the going down with the injuries all the time, it was nearly as bad as watching Newcastle. The only thing that was different from Newcastle's time wasting and Bournemouth last night was that the goalkeeper didn't go down. But I think that's because he'd already been booked. And I said to Sterling on the way out of the game, a simple way to stop all this time wasting. Everybody knows it's going on. There's nobody in the ground, including the referee, that doesn't know what's going on. So you have a limit. 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is. But as soon as you reach it, the referee says, that's breached the limit for time wasting. I'm booking the captain. And it'd stop it
I just
straight
do what
away.
they do in rugby.
What's that?
What's that?
They just say that the first aiders can come on and the game carries on.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's another thing that I've been saying. I've been saying that for 40 years, that's what should happen. You watch rugby
When you
league,
come,
all
game
right?
carries on.
Rugby league, where the physical contact is 100% more intense than it is in football, they never stop the game. You literally would
Yeah.
have to have a broken leg for the game to stop in rugby league.
Yeah, I've seen some really well commented things about this. It's quite poignant, obviously, with what happened with Billy Vigar and just how serious head injuries are in football. And the Bournemouth players were a disgrace. It's not to say the Brighton players don't do it as well. Jean-Paul Van Hecke does it almost every week. It can be quite amusing because it's amusing when it wasn't amusing yesterday because they were doing it all the time. But it is funny we're seeing a grown man throw themselves on the floor when they get brushed and clutching their head, because it's almost I'm looking at them like, you're actually pathetic. even if it is Brighton. And I said that yesterday. I don't want us to start doing what they're doing, but we know how serious head injuries are, and it's a good thing that the games have to be stopped for that reason, with things like that happening earlier on in the season, at the back end of last year with Billy Vigar. But if people are going to start abusing it, then something has to be done. And does that mean that then they scrap that rule altogether? And then in a situation like that, somebody doesn't have as quick of medical help as they should and as they would need. So it's a really big problem, actually, and it's one that these players have to respect a lot more, I think, because the fact that they're just going down trying to manipulate and just, it's gamesmanship, isn't it? It's not complete cheating. It doesn't win them the game, but it's gamesmanship to try gain a competitive edge, and it's not right, because they should have respect for their fellow competitors and athletes that, you know what, this is a serious thing. I'm not going to go down clutching my head when I've been tapped on the ankle. It's pathetic. I was fuming with Bournemouth yesterday, and I'd be absolutely livid if Brighton were like that as well. The way they played, it was ridiculous. It was literally every 5 minutes someone would go down.
Yeah, it was at one point, it was me and the people I sit next to who were predicting who would go down next. It was getting to that point. I mean, it was absolutely embarrassing from their point of view. I think they were lucky to only have 8 minutes added on. I thought it would have. I honestly wouldn't have been surprised if it was near 15 minutes because of the amount of players that went down with injury. And it took at least 2 minutes every single time. So when I saw it was 8 minutes, I thought that was really harsh. I mean, I honestly, it was painful to watch. And we were saying at half time and after the game, we went to the Worthing Horsham game. Not one of them situations happened, did they? I mean, it just shows. I couldn't believe what was happening. And with that penalty, I think the example which a lot of Brighton fans were using, and I used straight away when the penalty happened, was João Pedro at the Amex last season against Fulham at home, I think it was. He goes down for the exact same reason as Adley, but with way more contact. But at the time, I didn't think it was a penalty because his touch may as well be a shot off the pitch and it's closer to the corner flag than it is the goal. And the exact same situation happens yesterday. And as a Brighton fan, for the Pedro penalty, I was like, that's never a penalty, but we'll take it. But when it goes against you, obviously it's going to piss you off, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the thing that infuriates you more is there's so little contact. I mean, it's like me brushing you on the shoulder. And then that's what they give it for. The referee's that certain that it's not a foul. He's seen it way more obvious than the officials have in VAR because they go into 0.25 slow motion and make it look like he's about to tear his ACL because they've gone into such a slow motion. And
That was
then,
my point I wanted to make, actually, George.
yeah,
Well said.
yeah, go on.
Well, just wasn't trying to interrupt you, just to
Oh,
echo
right.
that. It makes it so much worse
Yeah,
when they're rolling it down to free, lower, slower speed. It's just ridiculous.
yeah.
It's
It just
absolutely
made
ridiculous.
it just made it look like he was tearing his ACL because Verbruggen slightly clipped him, and it made it look awful. And I just don't know how the referee can get sort of. He was basically just getting bullied by his officials because he was that certain. But how can in the space of 2 minutes, can your mind change that much and give a penalty? It was beyond me. And the thing that
You
I'm
know,
always go on, go
I
on.
was just going to say about VAR and slowing it down. It takes too much time. And I've said this
Mm.
consistently. It should be 30 seconds. Can you see in 30 seconds whether it's a clear and obvious error? No, I can't. Right, we go with the on-field decision. You don't slow it down, so you've got this freeze frame that you can minutely rock backwards and forwards to see what's going on. I watched that game on Saturday night, the Arsenal Forest game. They went to VAR a couple of times. Both times, looked at it. Was that offside? Yeah, it was. And then we're going to sit there and we're waiting for them to draw the lines and rock it backwards and forwards. And then they're like, yeah, it was offside. Okay, well, I could see that by looking at it straight away. So the on-field decision was it's offside. You look at it once. Is that a clear and obvious error? Can I clearly see that you've made a mistake? That is not offside. No, I can't. 30 seconds. You go with the on-field decision. You stamp out all of this nonsense. They wouldn't have done anything about that last night if that had been a rule. And you take it away from these people sitting watching it in a bloody TV studio somewhere, and you give it to the clubs, and you say you've got one appeal each half. You blow it, you've
Yeah.
lost it.
Yeah, 100%. It'd be such a better system. And the thing is, the sad thing is, actually, listen to us. We're not even speaking about a bicycle kick that was
Yeah,
scored, a brilliant goal,
yeah, it was a great
first
goal.
goal at the Amex for Babis Costellas. We're not even speaking about it because that really has just overwritten the whole game. That penalty
100%.
and the way Bournemouth played, because they wouldn't have done that if they weren't 1-0 up. If it was
Yeah.
0-0, they would have been actually trying to play. So yeah, it's really frustrating.
Yeah, you both put it really well there. I mean, that Babis goal was one of the best goals, as you said, Sterling, I've seen at the Amex live. It was absolutely incredible, and it was absolute carnage as well. So yeah, but I think we'll thoroughly move on from this rant, you could call it. That'll probably be an entertaining watch for the viewers. But it is honest. Like, what else do you want us to say? Like, it's just absolute bollocks, isn't it? So you got to
We're the
speak
ones
out on it.
living it in the stadium, you know. This raw emotion. We're
Yeah,
like, say what you want watching it from home, but you see it differently in the stadium. So and you feel it differently, don't you? So that's why the emotion's so raw still.
yeah. It's still, you can still feel it in your body, just how painful it was to experience it live. But we will move on to West Ham getting a huge London derby win away at Spurs. I mean, it just continues the pressure on Thomas Frank. Would have been a even bigger hit than the hits he's had before to mount even more pressure on what's been a pretty dire start to his Tottenham Hotspur career.
Yeah, I think he's going to be. Well, if you were going to put a bet on it, you'd put Frank to be the next manager that departs, wouldn't you? And
Yeah.
it wouldn't be an outlandish bet to make. He's on his last legs, I think. The fans seem to turn on him. Massive amount of boos full time, and you can understand why. West Ham, they look absolutely rubbish, to be honest. Let's put it in black and white. They don't look good, you know. They were rubbish against Brighton and still managed to get a result. But every time I've watched them, I reference Brighton because that's the most that I've watched them this season, because I'm not running to watch a West Ham game. They're boring. They're unimaginative. They've got good players, but they seem to lack creativity. And yeah, Spurs have managed to find a way to lose again at home, and they've actually lost 6 games at home this season in the Premier League, drawing 3, only won 2.
Yeah.
So out of 11 games at home this season, they've won 2 of them and lost 9. I mean, that in itself is quite telling, I think, about what's going on there and why they're so pissed off, because I think you can accept a little bit more losing away from home. It's harder, isn't it, going away from home and picking up results in the Premier League. But at home, a club like Spurs, they built that stadium to be a fortress. It's one of the best stadiums in the world. If not the best stadium in the country. I mean, it's the best stadium I've been to in terms of like what it actually is. It's amazing. But yeah, it's just pony. And we could talk about the game a little bit more, but I think that kind of warrants more to speak about personally.
Yeah, and it's the biggest problem there is the supporters, because they demand a certain style of football. They demand to be
Yeah.
entertained. And I don't know where it was, but I was listening to Andros Townsend today, and he was talking about the fact that when he was at Spurs, they were up against the same problem, and they needed 3/4 of the game really for the crowd. They needed the crowd with them for 3/4 of the game so they could get themselves into it, beat the low block, impose their style on the opposition, and the crowd was straight on them first minute. And he said it was almost impossible, and it's just going to rebound, unfortunately, on Frank. And I was reading in the paper today; it said that they're down to 11 fit players, and those 11 fit players,
Yeah.
only 9 of them are going to make it through the game. I mean, who's in
Yeah.
Yeah, I
charge of
saw that.
recruitment there?
That's not good enough for a Premier League club, is it?
No,
To have 9 fit players.
no.
I mean,
And
it
you
was the
look at
same last season as well. They had an injury crisis last season, and somehow it's
Yeah.
happening again. I mean, how
yeah,
have you not learnt from that and thought, oh, we were in absolute mud last season, we're having to play kids after time. Let's probably go and, recruit properly so this situation doesn't happen again, and it's somehow happening again. I mean,
but then
that's beyond me, to be honest.
but by the same token, if you are having to play your kids, why aren't they good enough to come into the squad? Because you're
Yeah.
investing millions and millions of pounds in your academy. Tottenham must be
Good point,
attracting
yeah.
some of the best players in North London and places like Hertfordshire and Buckinghamshire, all those counties north of London. They must be attracting all the players from around there. Why haven't they got players that are good enough to get in there? I know we talk about Brighton being that paragon club all the time, but I just thought last night was just another example of how well run they are. Boskagli's on the bench because he's a spare centre half. They've got 2 spare centre halves. They both played superbly against United. Boskagli comes on and he's smashing balls into the box from left back. He's not a left back, but he's
Mhm.
good enough to play there. And you think,
Yeah.
well, Tottenham. Then you pick up the paper and Tottenham will go over down to 9 players. We're going to get beat by Borussia Dortmund. They've only lost 2 games all season. They're already squaring the pitch for what's going to happen. If I was a Spurs
Yeah.
supporter, we wouldn't be bothering turning up.
Mm.
No,
Yeah.
and their under 21s are actually 9th in the Premier League too as well. So they're not bad players at all. And as you said, they invest so heavily in their academy. So it's a really good point. Like, why aren't you able to call upon them? There's so many other clubs doing it
Yeah.
that are relying on young players coming through. If you haven't done recruitment well enough over the last 18 months that you end up with a 11-man squad, then you need to be able to fall back on that, don't you? The amount of money that goes into that is silly.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you've got to give your props to West Ham, to be fair, getting the win. Callum Wilson's earned himself a new contract, really, with that goal, keeping him because he was going to leave, wasn't he? And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, came off the bench and picked up a goal, and then they've decided to keep him. But no surprise there, boos, because Frank's not had the best of starts there, and the situation with injuries happening again is just crazy that they haven't learnt from the situation they were in last season, which was probably even worse than the one they're in now. And they're slowly building towards another situation like that, and are also in 15th, aren't they? So yeah, it's not going well there, and you wouldn't really be surprised to see Frank gone in the next couple of weeks, would you? So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But we'll move on to the Championship. You wanted to speak about Sterling, Wrexham versus Norwich, a really good game. And Makama is back scoring again. He's been unbelievable for Norwich this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been brilliant. It's up to 10 goals now in the Championship for Makama. Looks a really good player. Wouldn't be surprised if he'd be on the radar of few Premier League clubs or upper echelon Championship clubs. With the way he's playing, still only 21, I believe, maybe 22, so still a young man. Just kind of learning his trade and doing really well. That was the winner that he scored, but he was involved in the first goal as well, which was a really nice goal. New signing from Vancouver Whitecaps, Ali Ahmed actually got the assist. I watched the highlights. It was a good assist that he made, just coming off the left and putting the ball in. And he looked like a really good player. Actually, he only played 45 minutes, but he definitely made his mark. He had a really good game. He had an absolute thunderbolt that hit the bar, just come across first time, whipped it, power, precision. So unlucky, hit the bar from about 30 yards out. So yeah, really, really good signs for Norwich with him. Yeah, it's a weird one. You would have expected Wrexham to go on and get the win. Obviously, Norwich haven't been doing great this season, and they're just coming off that great win against Forest in the FA Cup, but they weren't able to back it up, which they'll be thinking of thinking of that as a missed opportunity. I expect. You know, they've been doing better in the league, creeping up the table, and then you would like to have thought as a Wrexham fan that would just be the added boost. But it was not to be. Smith with a nice header to equalise, and then as we said, Macama with the winner. It's a lovely finish. Actually, one touch out his feet, right
Yeah.
foot across into the bottom left. Really good finish, and he looks like a really, really good player. I like him, and definitely keeping an eye on him. It is worth mentioning as well that the Norwich keeper Kovacevic, definitely butchered it again. Add it to the list.
Dick.
He made an unbelievable save late on to
Yeah,
actually
I
keep
saw
him.
that.
Yeah,
Unreal. Like
ridiculous.
clawed it out of the line, really, didn't he? He
Yeah,
was bound to
point
go in.
blank.
Yeah, point blank range, and he somehow saved it. It was incredible, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
but
great game all round. This looked, and actually, really impressed with Norwich their recruitment because the manager we bigged him up that about his previous experience, and he's come in and we've mentioned, I know, in past podcasts that they've been getting some good results. Another good result, and then to get this fella from Vancouver Whitecaps as well, he's a Canadian international. Yeah, that's to be back on the upward curve, Norwich.
Yeah, I was going to talk about how they deserved a bit of credit for their recruitment as well, because this guy Macama came from Lincoln City for just over $1 million, and they've taken
yeah,
a punt on him. Not a lot of money, admittedly, in the scheme of things, but it shows good recruitment, but it shows having the power of their convictions as well. You know, they brought him rather, and they put him in the team, and he's flourishing at that level because his goal scoring record at Lincoln wasn't brilliant. Lincoln had him on loan a couple of times, and it wasn't great. And I think from
It was that
memory, it's
Brackley
like,
town.
yeah, goal scoring record was something like 10 goals in 79 appearances. So probably not all starts, but they've definitely turned him into a better player. So that augurs well for Norwich. I like Norwich. It's a good away day. I don't want to see them drop down the league. And as you said, Sterling, I think Wrexham would be a bit surprised not to have got a result out of that. But perhaps that gives them an idea of what they should be doing with their recruitment strategy, starting to look down the leagues rather than relying on these sort of star signings almost, I guess is what it's a slightly the way their strategy has been so far.
Like the
yeah,
Hollywood move.
yeah. Literally, it's been a lot better, to be fair, from Norwich's point of view since Felipe Clement's come back in. He's sort of implemented his style from what they had before, which had them 23rd in the championship. Really bad start, and he's come in, and as you've both said, I think he's brought Macama really into the side and showed what he can bring. And obviously, he's shown that, and he's bagging in the goals on a regular basis recently. And they're making signings like Ahmed, unbelievable signing for them. I reckon he'll be a really tricky winger in this league, cause a lot of problems. But as you both said, Macama, great finish, and it shows that he was only playing National League football a few seasons ago. So to see that he's already 1 or 2 seasons later, maybe 3, bagging goals in the Championship for Norwich, and helping them climb out of the relegation zone. Really good to see from their point of view, and it is a huge 3 points for them because they need any points they can get at the minute because it was such a damaging start that they've not really got anything else to play for, but just making sure they stay in the division this season. So hopefully they
Yeah.
do, because as Simon said, they're never in a million years a League One side. Um, And yeah, they've got a big stature at that club, so you don't want to see them dropping the divisions. But we will move on to Coventry versus Leicester. The M69 derby is what they call it, and Coventry got the better of it after a comeback victory. A few, adjustments made at half time by Frank Lampard, which sort of helped Coventry get on the end of a game, which earned them 3 points.
Yeah, Leicester were all over them really in the first half. The wingers were causing them a loads of problems, playing with high tempo, lots of overlaps, especially down the left wing, and they looked like they were in trouble. But to his credit, and it's not the first time I've said it this season, Frank Lampard made some tactical adjustments at half time, got them on the ball, playing on the ball a bit more, closing down the wing plays from Leicester a little bit. They were a little bit lucky, actually, Coventry, to get the win. The first goal from Ellis Sims was basically a ball into the box and them holding the defender off, and the ball, as he falls over, the defender falls over and the ball strikes his calf and goes in. It was very soft. But the winner was a great piece of skill from Sakamoto. Ball sort of came into the box and he pivots and fires it across the box. And Hadji Wright, who'd come on for Sims, he was just at the far post and tucked it in. Leicester were asleep there. It'd be a good game tonight, actually. I'm almost tempted to watch that rather than the Tottenham game as Wrexham against Leicester. Because Leicester have got, we've not spoken about them this season, but they've got the players to play at a higher level, I think. But they don't seem to knit it together. But it was a great atmosphere that game. Watched the highlights, and good win for Coventry.
Yeah, really important win for them as well, because they were maybe 3 or 4 without a win. Not sure if that stat is exactly correct, but they hadn't won in a few weeks, and they were just starting to drop off, and the teams below them
you're right, yeah.
Yeah, just starting to catch up on them. So really important for them late on to get that win. You make a really good point about Leicester's team, and this is the point I was going to make, Dad, is the quality on the pitch in this game is crazy. You've got Pereira, Skip, Bobby Decordova-Reeve, Mavvididi, Ayew, Fatawu. Those are all for Leicester. On the bench as well, Daka, Jeremy Monga, Coventry, Hadji Wright, Sims, Da Silva, Rushworth. The list goes on. That's a great advocate for Championship football, I think, because that, just looking at it, is crazy quality. I mean, especially Leicester's team, Dad, you're right, that would be a team that would compete in the Premier League. I know they went down last season, but that's not a bad team at all.
Yeah,
You can say,
definitely got the bare bones of a Premier League team, and
yeah, you could argue that would, on paper, you'd look at that like, oh, they're probably a Premier League team if you showed it to a stranger.
yeah. The shout out to Rushworth, actually, because he played really well. He made a great save from Decordova-Reid. He had a chance for, and he probably should have done better. But Rushworth made a great save, tipped it over. He's still a Brighton player, isn't he, Rushworth?
Yeah,
he's on loan. He's on loan, yeah.
Well,
if Verbruggen goes, he'll be coming in.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he'll be in, won't he?
I'd be happy seeing him in there because he looked good. He's a good shot stopper. He's got good distribution. I think lurking around the fringes of the England squad a few years ago, wasn't he? So I wouldn't be surprised to see him come in, take the number 1 jersey, and do that for England. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, because he's proved himself in the Championship for many years now, and various different loan moves. So it's about time he got a chance to prove himself in the Premier League. But I think it was a huge win for Coventry because, as Sterling said, they've been on a really poor run of form recently, and when you're at the top of the Championship, teams will be punishing you without a doubt, and they're not as comfortable at the top of the Championship now as they were before. But I completely agree with you both in terms of the quality on the pitch. It's outrageous how much quality is on either side. And if you told me that either team really they were a Premier League side, probably more Leicester than the Coventry team, then I wouldn't be so surprised that you were saying they're a Premier League team because there's so much quality. I think especially Mavididi in the Championship. I thought he was brilliant against Brighton last season. Had
Yeah.
was it Weaver? Did he have for that goal he scored? I can't remember, but he had one of the Brighton defenders on strings and then wrapped it into the far corner. I remember. So yeah, I was really impressed with Coventry, but I think Leicester will be disappointed with the squad that they have, that they're not
Yeah,
utilising it in Championship football, and probably would want to be higher up the table. So we'll have to wait and see if they
definitely.
want to get if they are going to build on the squad that they have and get into a playoff spot potentially near the end of the season. But finally, in the Championship, I wanted to talk about Ipswich, who have continued on a really good run of form. 3-0 home win against Blackburn moves them into third with a game in hand on Middlesbrough, with a chance to go ahead of them in that game in hand because if they win, they do go above them by a point. Another clean sheet for Ipswich. I think they're second or third in the league for clean sheets. They've got 9 and they've only conceded 24 goals this season, just one behind Stoke. So second for goals conceded this season, which is a really good stat. You got Chris Walton in goal, the former Brighton goalkeeper. And they got Leif Davis, who I thought was really good in the Premier League, even though they got relegated last season. O'Shea, Kipre, and Furlong as well to name the back four and the goalkeeper that started in the game. But Blackburn have struggled a lot this season. Mentioning them, I think a key area of sort of an excuse would be their injuries, especially in defensive areas, which I think is the main reason why they went and signed Aaron Cashin on loan from Brighton. Because in the defence, in the back three, they've been playing kids the last couple of games. So bringing him in gave the defence a bit of experience in his young age, which is surprising to say, but it didn't look like he had a lot of experience because he had an absolute stinker on the weekend. He got burnt and he scored an own goal in the games and also conceded 3 goals. So not a very good performance from his behalf, but Ipswich looking really good now after what was a really tough start to the season. They were surprisingly near the bottom, but have been on a cracking run of form. But Blackburn need to find some momentum if they want to stay in the division this season because it's not been good. So what do you both think of it?
Well, I think
Yeah,
if
they found their form.
you're an Ipswich supporter, you're probably looking at the table and expecting to go up automatically, but also looking at the table this time last year, and Burnley had a similar record, didn't they? And they've gone up and floundered. So I don't know whether Ipswich, as a supporter base, want to put themselves through that all over again, because it doesn't look like it's going to be any different. And I would imagine this summer that McKenna will go because there's so much fluidity in the Premier League managers' seats at the moment. I can't imagine that even if Ipswich get promoted, I can't imagine that nobody out there is going to give McKenna a go. Maybe even Tottenham. So
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I do agree. Yeah, it's good for their point of view that they've actually started picking up form, because it was looking really bleak at one point, and just thinking, they could be, doing maybe a Luton, but I didn't think that would be the case. But it's always a worry when they start off
Yeah,
that bad. But they've got far too much quality to ever do something like that. We spoke about the Leicester and Coventry team. Well, Ipswich has got to be up there with second or third best in the league because you mentioned a few of them there, George, and Jaden Philogene. God knows how he's actually playing in the Championship, but he's there, and they got that Mateus Nunes, isn't it? Is that his first name, Mateus?
yes, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah. Players like is it Akpom that's at Ipswich as well, isn't he?
yeah,
Yeah.
Chuba
So
Atkinson.
started to doubt myself for a sec, but yeah, they've got really good quality. In terms of Blackburn, absolutely no idea what's going on with them. 5 without a win. That might even be more, but that's just what I see Their most recent five is all red or amber, or grey. So yeah, not good. I don't really know what to say about Blackburn, but it's not what I expected.
No, because they did so well in the last couple of years with Sammy Smodic spanging in the goals for them near the playoff spots, but now very underwhelming. You can imagine for Blackburn fans from going from fighting for Premier League football to fighting to stay in the division. So a lot of contrast and emotions over a couple of seasons for Blackburn fans. So we want to see them improve because they are a well-known Championship side, but. We'll move on to League One. Huge game in League One this week was the one you covered, Simon. Cardiff versus Bradford, top of the table clash. And I think Cardiff, with this win that they got, I think it's in their hands now to go and win this League One title, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. It was really interesting game to watch because the two goals the first goal that Cardiff scored and Bradford's goals were almost identical, 20-yard screamers from the right-hand side of the box. But yeah, it was an interesting game. Lots and lots of tactical adjustments at half-time from Bradford got themselves back in the game. Metcalf got them in there with that 60th minute screamer, but they just couldn't capitalise on it really because Cardiff went into a low block, lots of in-game management. Some of the time wasting would have been Premier League standard, I would imagine. They switched to a back five towards the end, and Bradford just didn't have a plan B really. They just were pumping balls into the box, but it was meat and drink to the Cardiff defence, and it just showed you that they've got the players and the tactical nous on the sidelines to get promoted, and it must put them into the front seat really to take that to the next level. We've said before they didn't deserve to be playing down at that level. But again, just to mention, the 22,000 people nearly there, great support at Bradford. They deserve to go up as well with that level of support, I think. Yeah, it was, as I said, two great goals. And the changes that Alexander made at half-time were not quite enough to get Bradford back in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Callum Chambers with the winner as well. Shows that they've got that extra quality in League One and experience as well that is what you need when you're fighting for the title. And it got them over the line in a really tough game. As you said, Bradford look like they deserve to go up as well. Really good team in the division, and yeah, just shows Cardiff there that experience shining through. They're able to just hold on for the win. Ollie Tanner with a couple of assists as well, the ex-Lewis boy. So always nice to see. Doing well in he age 23 now, blossoming quite well. So if they do get promoted, which absolutely I agree, they're in pole position. It'd be good to see him in the Championship, see what he can do.
Yeah, because he was in the Championship with them last season, but as we've seen this season, he's been with troubles with injuries and he's only just come back. And he got a brace of assists, which was brilliant to see because obviously we all keep a close eye on him because, he's playing for Lewis just a couple seasons ago. So you want to see him doing well, don't you, at a high level. But yeah, huge win for Cardiff. It would have been a real, confidence booster to beat a side that's, right next to you in the table. But yeah, as you said, Sterling, Callum Chambers, huge asset to the squad. He'll bring bags of experience to what we said at the start of the season. It's a really, really young squad they've got there at Cardiff. So yeah, I mean, as you said, Simon, crowds of 20 plus thousand in League One just shows the support from Bradford, especially. And I'd love to see him get back to back promotions from League Two to League One. Double promotion would be brilliant to see because, they're such a big club and they're getting crowds like that. They've slot into the Championship like a glove with crowds like that, wouldn't they? So
Yeah.
it would be really good to see. But we'll move on to a game I wanted to speak about. Leyton Orient getting a win over an in-form Reading side to make it 2 unbeaten for them against Cardiff and Orient. Cardiff and Reading, sorry. They've beaten in a row. Gone unbeaten, sorry, in a row. But in the game, the star of the show was Don Ballard. I mean, what a performance from him. You could call it the perfect hat trick. We were saying at the Amex yesterday, weren't we? Because we were seeing the goals, left foot, right foot, and a header, wasn't there? Was that right, or was it a volley? One
Yeah,
of the
that's
two.
right, mate. Yeah, that's right.
Unbelievable performance from him, and he's up to 15 goals and 2 assists in this season now. Top goal scorer this season, and also has the most goals and assists in the league combined. So he's just been the star man of the league so far. Credit to the assist makers as well. Oliver O'Neill with 2 assists for the goal. What, two of the goals for Ballard and Archibald, but O'Neill in particular is linking up with him really well because he's got 7 assists now, second in the league, just behind Cozy Dewberry. So he's really contributing to the attacking returns for them a lot, and he's probably just been shadowed out by how good Don Ballard has been for them this season. But they're still in 16th, Leighton Orient. But they're only 3 points behind Reading, who are in 11th, who they obviously beat on the weekend. So it was Reading's first defeat since the 13th of December against Bradford. So Orient ended a 5-match unbeaten run, which just shows how good of a result it was for them. But Reading's goal scorer was Jack Marriott. Don't remember if you know him from his Derby days in the Championship. He scored the only goal for them. I think he just shows serious experience in the league that, he's already got 9 goals, 3 assists this season, top goal scorer for them. Bags of experience, and he'll help them out to, maybe push for a playoff spot. But, how good do you think Don Ballard's been this season? Because he just keeps getting better and better every week, it looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, brilliant. We're a bit of a Don Ballard fan club, especially last night at the Albion. Shout out to my mate Oscar. He's got an affinity for Leighton Orient. And he was showing us the goals. Brilliant goals, all three of them. As you said, perfect hat trick. I think it was the second one was the header. Incredible header. Massive leap on the boy.
Yeah.
Got up really, really early. Loads of hang time, and then great finish and lots of power on the header. Brilliant. And then the last one as well. Cheeky little nutmeg.
Oh, yeah.
Gets round the defender and then slots it in with his right foot. It was really nice. First one was lovely with his left across the keeper as well. But he looks like a brilliant player. Only 20 years old still as well. Absolutely crazy. And you look at how his career's gone so far. It's been unorthodox to say the least. And it's actually credit to Leighton Orient because they got him from Saints, who pretty much discarded him. They sent him out on loan to Reading, Cambridge, Blackpool, and he didn't really have much of an effect until he went to Leighton Orient. So they took a bit of a stab at him, at getting him in. And yeah, he's come up trumps for him. And Oscar was saying as well, that he'll definitely be on the radar of a lot of championship clubs and almost certainly be on the move in the summer because it doesn't look like Leighton Orient are gonna do anything. I know they're not too far off the playoffs, but they can't seem to find any form, can they?
No, and it's a surprise really because when you look at who the top goal scorers are in the various leagues, you see someone that's top goal scorer, you expect their club to be at the top or near the top. So I don't really know why Leighton Orient, if they've got this asset in Ballard, why they're not higher up the table really. It's a bit of a surprise.
Because they
Yeah, and
got
they had
Aaron Connolly out.
I was gonna say they had your best mate Aaron Connolly up front as well, who was top goal scorer at one point. So even more begs the question.
This
Yeah,
Ballard's got a
exactly.
little bit more quality about him than that, I think. I mean,
Yeah,
he's been capped by England from under 17 up to under 20 level, so he's obviously
yeah,
got some sort of quality. And yeah, it was the first time I'd seen his goals really, or looked at them properly last night. But I was quite impressed by that. But again, it comes back to the
yeah.
point: why aren't Orient at the top or in the playoff places? Perhaps they can use
Well,
this
we
now
said
to get them up
before.
there.
We said before we've highlighted their defence has been really, really poor
Yeah.
this season and I think that continues to be the problem. Actually, they've got Killian Cahill, ex-Albion goalkeeper. Well,
Yeah.
never had an appearance for the first team, but
Yeah.
ex-Albion academy prospect. He's only kept 3 clean sheets all season, which is no good, really. You know, we were speaking about, I think it was Ipswich, wasn't it? He said 8, George, in the league. Might have been more. That's a top club in a harder league, but those are the numbers you need to be having in terms of clean sheets if you want to really compete in any division in the football pyramid in England, because it's so competitive, and regardless of clean sheets, they concede way too many, don't they?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You know, they score a lot of goals. They got the attacking threat. They just concede way too many. If they had a better defensive structure and just defence in general, I think they would have been a lot better this season in terms of their position at the minute, because I think they're really good attacking wise, but defensively, I think they're really poor. One thing it reminds me of actually is Ballard would have came on for Southampton, if you remember. Do you remember that game where we secured Europe, Southampton
Yeah.
at home? He was
Oh
one of
yeah,
the young lads that came on.
yeah, I do
Actually, reminds me that he came on.
actually.
Obviously, not as experienced back then, was he? But you know, it gives us a talking point, because we actually have watched him live, which is quite funny about it, because it takes you back to when he was at Southampton. So yeah, really good performance on the weekend. Again, he just keeps getting better and better. So yeah, we'll move on
Had
to the
other
last
things on my
game.
mind that day.
Yeah, I
Like
forgot other
Brighton
thing.
getting Europe, mate. I was thinking
Yeah,
where I'm going on this European tour than watching Don Ballard play.
yeah, we were hoping he won't
At
ruin the
16.
party. We were hoping he wasn't going to ruin the party, because he would have been hated on this podcast if he did. um, but we'll move on to the last League One game, Sterling. You wanted to talk about Barnsley getting a victory over Blackpool in what is a really needed win for Barnsley, because they haven't been a great run of form in the recent weeks, have they?
No, it's their first win in 6, and it seemed to be far from convincing, to be honest. Went 1-0 up, Blackpool will come back to 1-0, and then actually 2-1 really late on 93rd minute, courtesy of David McGoldrick. He actually scored both the goals, so his quality and experience coming up trumps for Barnsley. And yeah, it was weird. Following a really good showing at Anfield, it was quite surprising to see that they were really so unconvincing against Blackpool.
Mm.
And I don't think they're a bad side at all. I think Conor Hourihan's a really good manager. He's well spoken. They've got good players. McGoldrick. The name's gonna escape me. You might have it. The winger that was getting loads of props on
Oh,
Rising
Cleary.
Ballers. And Cleary, yeah, absolute baller on the
Yeah,
wing.
bowler in it.
Um, yeah, they've got really good players, so was surprising to see them struggle against a Blackpool team that's not been doing great all season, and they sit in 15th. Granted, only 7 points away from the playoffs, but that gap continues to grow.
Yeah, you've got to have consistency to get anywhere near the playoffs in this division. We said that when we did the preview about the number of big clubs there are in that division. And Barnsley, unfortunately, aren't one of them. They did play well at Liverpool, and Cleary was good for for about 30 minutes at Anfield, but it's that consistency is what they're missing, really. You've got to do it week in, week out against teams like Blackpool, because they're no mugs, Blackpool, and they would have shown that on Saturday with that game against Barnsley. I do think a lot of Ahura, and I think he was a good player for them, and I think he fits in well as their manager, but you got to be consistent.
Yeah, no, they aren't consistent enough in this division. You know, I think you make a good point with David McGoldrick. Obviously, it was a late winner he scored, wasn't it? Right at the end, 90 something. I can't remember, but I remember
90
seeing
plus
it.
3.
90+3. There you go. But yeah, he's got bags of experience. McGoldrick for League One. You know, it wasn't long ago he was playing in the Premier League for Sheffield United. So getting him's good. And Blackpool with Ashley Fletcher, he's got bags of experience as well. He's been really good for them this season as well under Ian Evatt. So yeah, happy to see Barnsley getting back on winning ways, because as you both said, really good performance at Anfield. I thought they put had a, put their name out there really, because they had a really good couple of players like Cleary, as you said, Sterling. He was unbelievable in the game and made a name for himself on that night. So we'll have to keep an eye out on Barnsley because you saw what they were capable of at Anfield. So hopefully that game, sort of, the first game back since that game, got a win. Hopefully they can use that as a motivation because they much need it in the minute if they want any glimmer of hope of getting promoted this season, which is very, very unlikely at this minute in time. But we will move on to League Two football. There has been a lot of games in this division this week, obviously, back to the regular scheduling. And I wanted to speak about a really big game at the top of the table between Salford and Swindon, where Salford got a huge 3-2 away win in the top of the table clash, who have moved into fourth place outside the playoffs, outside the automatic spot, on just goal difference. About the game, they had Cisse on the score sheet again, 5 goals, 5 assists from centre mid since he joined from Wealdstone last season, so I've been really impressed with him. Ryan Graydon started up top for them, Salford, who got an assist. He signed recently from Fleetwood, who I think is a really good sign, and I remember having him on my EFL fantasy football team last season for Fleetwood. He was an absolute baller. He'd do all sorts for my team. So to see him at Salford, I know a bit about him. He gets the points on the board usually. So good signing from them on that point of view. But Odo with another assist. He's playing really goals. 7 goals, 6 assists this season from striker. Former academy product Kelly and might have butchered it. I've done all right there. Scored in the game. Used to be a United product, as I said. 7th in all comps alongside 2 assists. They're just a few names in the attacking sort of areas for Salford that have impressed me recently and impressed in the game. I wanted to speak about Fletcher Ullman signing for Swindon, as he was just playing with my brother a few seasons ago at Eastbourne Borough under 18s, and now he's playing League Two football with Swindon, which is mental to see. He was at Borough and he got the move to Wolves just a few years ago, but joined Swindon on a permanent, I think, a week ago or so. He got the assist for Aaron Drinnan's goal to make it 3-2 at the time. But Drinnan back level as top goal scorer with Michael Cheek at Bromley, 14 each this season. But if you go all comps, then Drinnan's got 20 goals and 2 assists, which is just a brilliant record for him. He's had a terrific start to the season. But overall, Salford put themselves in serious contention for the automatic spaces, but it just gives Swindon a little dent in their chances of staying in those spaces because of how big of a game that was. It was sort of a 6-pointer for teams near the top of the table. So, what did you think of the game and the quality on the pitch for both sides?
Yeah, I think it
Yeah,
was
they're on
great.
a serious run of form. Sorry, go on, Dan.
I was going to say, I think it was a great result for Salford. Lots of quality in both teams. They look like they're both going to be challenging for those automatic places. Interesting, they're playing each other tonight in the FA Cup reverse fixture.
Oh, yeah, of course they are. It got cancelled, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what happens with that. But yeah, they both look like
Yeah,
good
definitely.
teams. Both on the up and up. And I think, isn't the winner of this away at City in the next round? I think they are, right?
Yeah, they are.
They've got a lot to play for tonight.
Yeah, it'd be a huge game.
They're on a crazy run of form, Salford. They're 8 unbeaten. And we spoke about it a few weeks ago, didn't we, George, when Dad was away? And they've not stopped ever since. They're really, really tough to beat, and they seem to have got a really good squad, and they keep adding to it as well as a lot of clubs are doing in the division. So yeah, really, really like commenting and watching Salford games. Not being able to watch one all the way through, but watching the highlights and things like that. They have loads of really good games, and I'm sure again tonight, as you said, really big prize on the line, regardless of playing City. Prize fund of getting to the next round. We spoke about it, so massive, and I reckon they'll probably win that.
Yeah, huge game for both sides because they'll get massive TV money, as you said, and they'll get a bit of media attention because obviously they're playing a team as big as Manchester City. So huge game for them tonight, and Salford will have the upper hand, but Swindon will be wanting to get that get back. Really, I think they would probably prefer to win the FA Cup than the league. It's controversial, but in terms of who they're playing, you probably would want to win this game more, wouldn't you? So, but we'll move on to another game we wanted to talk about. Sterling, you wanted to speak about Cambridge getting the better of Fleetwood in what was a game which was, I think I saw it. Incredible free kick I saw by Kai. Unbelievable, and it sort of took a lot. Was the headlines of the game, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a crazy free kick. It was proper whip, dip, everything went in right at the top of the goal. So it was you couldn't even tell that it was going to go in. I didn't even realise it had gone in before I seen him running away in celebration. It was a really, really incredible free kick. So everyone will have to go out and watch that because yeah, you'll be taken away, I think. And yeah, Sally Kai, fourth goal of the season. I don't know if he's doing that every week. Don't know if that alone is warrant enough to give him an overall assessment, but it looks like a good player, especially from that free kick. And yeah, it was a good game overall. Fleetwood equalised 74th minute, and then that was with a penalty. And it was a stonewall penalty, to be honest. Referee got the right decision there. And then 82nd minute, courtesy of James Gibbons, centre half, all the way up from a set piece. It's pretty well worked, to be fair, and really, really good finish actually. And he got man of the match on FootMob too. So yeah, he'll be buzzing with that. And it's worth mentioning that Cambridge took really good away fans. Couldn't find the exact number, but it looked like a good few hundred. I reckon about 600-700 easy, and it was absolute limbs for both of the goals. So yeah, really, really pleased for Cambridge, and they're up to sixth, 2 points off automatic spots. So yeah, they're looking like an outside contender for automatic, and definitely one for the playoffs.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the Bromley game because we haven't talked about them that much, and I spent a bit of time analysing their game, watching their game against Chesterfield, and 7 matches unbeaten. Chesterfield brought that to an abrupt halt. It was a good game actually. Very good teams, both of them, and there was a bit of controversy with a penalty in the 90th minute. It wasn't really a controversial penalty. There was all in wrestling going on the goal line, but it was difficult to work out whether it was the attackers and fouling the defenders or vice versa. But the referee gave a penalty to Bromley. But the keeper, Zach Hemming, made another good save. He made a good save in the first half from Mitch Pinnock to keep them in the game. And he made a good save low to his left to keep Bromley at bay, really. And it was interesting to see the way Bromley are playing because they're definitely a much more direct team than we've seen other teams at that level. Lots of wing play, but bombarding the box with crosses, loads and loads of crosses. It'd be interesting to see if they can keep that momentum up.
Yeah, it will be. They've been one I know we spoke about briefly. They've gone massively under the radar, haven't they, George?
Yeah, massive. I mean, they've gone a lot further clear now because Swindon dropping points has put them a bit more further forward. I think it's like 5, maybe 6 points or something like that. Bromley are clear now, and they've had such a good start to the season. No one really would have expected them to be this high at the start of the season. Touching on the Cambridge game quickly, I think Cambridge are a really good side. Got some decent players. That Nathan Pansy that was at Luton just a couple seasons ago is playing for them in the midfield. Who I thought was really good for them in the Premier League, and they've got some other good players as well. Neil Harris is in charge of them as well, who's got a lot of EFL experience. So to see Cambridge winning a few games under him isn't a surprise, but a surprise for me is to see Bromley top of the league, because it wasn't long ago they were a National League side, and now they're top of the League Two table and looking comfortable at the top of the League Two table. So massive credit to Bromley, because they're flying high, but credit to Chesterfield to get a point of what looks like a really hard Bromley team to cut to getting nothing but 3 points for them at the minute in time, because they've just been brilliant. So we'll have to keep an eye out at the top of that League Two table, because it is looking very tasty come the end of the season. So we'll have to wait and see.
We're still technically